Oh, there it is. All right, welcome to our April 16th Facilities Committee meeting of the board. We have Barbara and myself here from the board. We have Neil, Jim, and Frank. And usually, Frank, you take right over with the agenda.
All right,
You'll be able to
I'm
help us?
pulling the agenda
Thanks.
up and we're gonna get right started.
Thank you very much.
Okay. First things first, I'm gonna skip a little bit
Mhm.
before we get into a couple other conversations. I'm gonna start with the updates of the projects that are going on.
Okay.
So, and then Neil and I can jump in on everything. So let's start with the capital project. Because that one is, if you go in the back, it is definitely up and running. So they are doing the topsoil now. And so they're just removing all topsoil and getting in. They're not seeing any issues. They got the temporary fencing up. They have the area where they're gonna put their trailer. So all of that's happening. Why don't you talk about the removals?
Yeah, so they're basically storing some of the topsoil up back by where the baseball scoreboard is. So that's up by the way and can be reused on site, and we will be using some of that on our athletic fields to top dress level up some of the playing surfaces there. They removed all the stumps so we're waiting on National Grid to disconnect that electrical pole that's out there, and they're gonna keep plugging away.
And the gas main has to be moved and transferred. So we're looking at trying to get that set up for during Memorial Day break. That Thursday, Friday,
How long of a process is that?
Neil.
National Grid said it was fairly quick.
So we're
So
thinking a
they
couple days.
believe they could do it in 2 days, weather permitting.
It's amazing. Okay.
So that is where we are with the transportation facility, but we are moving.
It's very exciting.
A couple things with the transportation facility, might as well just get right into that part, and then we can talk about some of the other things. This is the wall, right, Neil?
Yes,
Okay,
example of the block we will be using.
yeah, I'll go with this one right here. So they put in a substitution for our brick. Am I right in saying which one it is?
Yeah,
Is it all of these?
yeah, these are all just different examples of
Okay.
basically the same.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So they put in a request for substitution. It was a much smaller brick that they wanted to use. We said no. We didn't like the substitution. We didn't like it. So we gave other options.
Who's they?
They is Carver, is the group that did it. So I'm sorry. So the different primes will put in substitutions for different projects. And and it's very typical, right? Like we spec something and then they say, well, we want to put this. As long as it meets the spec, we typically will approve the substitution. It did not meet the spec beforehand. So we went back, we gave them a different option. We said, no, there's others. So these are the bricks that we've approved. They do meet spec. Neil, can you give the dimensions of it? Because you know that better than I do.
They're about 6 feet long by about 3 feet tall.
I'll say they're gotta be huge.
So yeah,
Yeah, and that's what we wanted, the big bricks. You know, we wanted to make sure like, we were a little bit concerned with the integrity over a long period of time of the smaller bricks. Plus we want, that's what we expect. We want the community to have the best of the best when we did this. So the big bricks are where we want.
And this isn't like an interlocking.
It's a whole
precast concrete?
interlocking system. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, these are interlocking systems. Some of them are quite large, so. So I'll give you an idea of what it is. We didn't spec out color. But it's just gonna be the gray.
Is that how ours are, the different sizes?
No, that's a little different of a
Oh.
style.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Any questions with it?
No.
And then we got today. Oh, Neil, what am I doing wrong here? There it is. All right, why don't you talk about this?
So this was proposed by Carver as far as the actual sign leading into the facility. We have different color options. Obviously, they use our school colors, different fonts or any other changes we want to make before approving or moving
They're gonna
forward.
spell Voorheesville right though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not spelled right at all.
They're like, we'll put
Is
4
this where-
S's in.
Is this on the corner or is this for the
So
facility?
we have the option of doing 2 different signs, one on the corner and one in front, or 2 of the same signs. I think they proposed 2 of the same,
I don't.
so we could definitely get something different for the corner, kind of pointing this way
So on the corner coming up the hill,
where the Cornell.
we currently have a sign that says deliveries this way. I think we should probably have deliveries this way and transportation facility and deliveries, a little sign
That makes sense.
with an arrow.
And I'm assuming we've thought about placement with being able to see when you're trying to get in and out. So the sign doesn't block.
Yeah, it'll have to be kind of set back a little bit because we are
Right.
widening the end of the road a little bit for the buses to make their turn out of there. So it will be kind of set back a little bit from where the Cornell sign
Or
is.
do we want a big sign though?
I mean, really, our delivery sign is like an 18-inch,
How big is this?
It's hard to see.
5 foot wide
I was
by
saying
3 feet tall. So that's the one right out in front.
Maybe,
You scroll up, that's the map.
Trish, I think you bring up a good point on the corner. Maybe we don't want a big sign on the front. Maybe we want like a small, BCSD transportation and deliveries this way, like a 38, like a smaller one.
Just on, like on the signpost where the stop sign is. But kind of how we have it now.
Similar to what we have now. But I think you're right. You don't want a giant thing there. We're just gonna make
Depending on
it.
where it is.
But DOT would have to approve it anyway, wouldn't they?
It's on a property.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't think they would have.
Like the satellite field sign is large, but it's set back far enough that it
Mhm.
doesn't impair your vision when you're trying to get in and out of there.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you like that in the front? Like, so the question's gonna be really. for the-
I don't like or not like it. I was
Yeah.
just bringing up
Well,
visibility.
no, I like
Uh-uh.
I like that one,
I'm
but I
not owning
think,
this.
Bob, come on, I need you guys input here. I'll make the final decision, so I'll take all the blame. But, like, as you're coming into the building, do you want something that's big, like in the campus, or do you want something smaller as you're going up the hill?
I mean, the
thinking-
point is to help people find it that are looking for it, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
That's
I don't know
true.
how big you
I
have
mean,
to
but-
be.
after a while, people just forget them anyways.
Correct. But I think that this, like next to that particular facility is helpful. If you're not familiar with our campus
Mhm.
and you've got the sign that is clear,
Yeah.
this is the transportation facility, but also the wayfaring sign is an excellent choice in that, people are not gonna know where to find transportation unless we direct them.
Mhm.
But certainly the wayfaring sign does not need to be as
Right.
large as
Yeah, I'd like,
the facility.
I agree. I think we should go a little bit smaller in the front.
Okay.
And then position it in an appropriate place. Do we have to move Cornell's sign?
I believe it was out of the way, but I'll double check on that.
Yeah, I don't think it was in that suite.
So we could put our sign near their sign again, like where it currently is.
Cornell's on the other side? of
Yeah, the
street?
right hand side.
Right. Right hand is you're going up. Going up the hill?
Well, there's the map.
You take the turn into
Oh.
Martin, it's on the left.
Where's the map? It's above it. All right, thank you.
Cornell's.
Neil was smart and put a map up.
Oh,
So
good.
Thank
So,
you, Neil.
and
here we go.
where the red squiggles are there,
I'll zoom in.
so
Sorry, that's not really work. Oh my gosh,
Oh, boy.
this is not working like it should be. What did I
We'll
do?
get there, don't worry.
Yeah.
Slow.
so sign number 1 to the left there, that would be the one right next to
On
the
the
building
corner.
itself.
Oh, yeah.
That would
Where's
be
sign
the
number
corner.
That's the corner one. We're
Yep.
talking. it's
That's
away
where
from-
Cornell's is?
That's
or
what
you're-
Cornell.
Yeah.
Oh, got you.
So if we put it right here,
Mhm.
then right there.
As you're coming down the road, you'll see that sign right by the gate.
Mhm.
So they've got both ways on all 3 entrances. I thought we just wanted an exit on the furthest one.
I'll double check. I
The
think that
one
one,
closest to the school.
yes, I'm pretty sure that one was supposed to be just an exit.
Right,
Mhm.
that, so, just noting
Yeah,
that.
can we confirm that?
Yes.
So you're saying the one to the right is an exit only, the one to the left where the squiggles are where sign 1 goes is gonna be just an entrance.
I'm pretty sure that one was supposed to be just an entrance,
Yes.
and then the other one is the staff parking all the way to the left, so that one was both directions.
Right.
Right, I thought.
So
entrance-
just entrance, just
Exit.
exit, and then staff parking was both.
That's what I thought we did too.
That makes sense?
Cause this is the wash bay
Right,
right here.
they'd have to come in the staff entrance to
So
do
they
that.
come this way in. and go out.
And obviously the staff entrance is big enough to crinkle bus through there.
Yeah.
Looks smaller than the other ones. Maybe not.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
that's
check on
what it
that
is.
too,
That
man.
might be a
Let's
gate.
make sure. No, but let's make sure, I mean, let's not assume anything with the
True,
project,
true.
right? So
It's a
let's,
simple
yep,
question, yeah.
simple question, let's get it answered. Cause you're right, it looks smaller, but they all look small, they all look
They
different.
do. I think it's just that black squiggle, which is probably the gate. I don't know what that is.
That is, I think, the gate.
I mean, it's kind of a narrow road at that point. So. But I'm no
No.
road engineer. No.
Hello, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
The meeting is still going on, but
Do you want to see it there? We're just going over the capital project and he's showing us some things with the transportation department. I mean, what's
So-
happening so far.
That's really with transportation. Our elementary school project
Mhm.
is at the project manager phase, so we're just waiting for approval. We met with our construction manager and architects this morning. We are in a good space right now where our timing is really good. Jeff said that at this point, we have a little leeway until they, get us back to us, and then we're gonna get a, division of site work. So he's working on that now with the architect, and by he, I mean our construction manager, where they're gonna divide the site work that we can get done this summer in comparison to what we can do in the future. And we should be able to go out to bid in a timely manner, to be able to get some of that site work done over the summer. The goal would be hopefully either someone who's already on site or somebody who can quickly do it to get done. But we'll go out to bid on that.
So that has advanced since our board meeting?
Yep, it's at the project manager phase where it has
I
been.
just couldn't remember where it
No,
was.
so I don't think it's moved much,
Oh,
but we got the, okay today from our construction manager that our timeframe is still all right.
oh,
So that was, because you're good, we got time. We did get asked about bids by somebody, like, is now the best time to go bid? Not really optimal timing to bid, but the fact that it's just a site work, could work in our favor. If you're going out for like multiple primes at this point, I would be very hesitant. Since it's just one, I think we're all right. Other projects, the roofing, you want to explain?
Roofing project, which started over April break when it snowed, got set back a little bit there. And then some more rain, they have some final detail work to finish up. And we will follow up with them to hopefully get them back on site tomorrow. They did move out some of their larger equipment out of there, so they have started finishing up. But as of right now, of the rain we got over the past week, there's no new wet spots in that hallway and area that was being worked on.
Hey, that's very interesting. So the front entrance over here in the high school, that is getting done. Again, we went out to bid. We have to have the bid approval. We're gonna have to do that in April, just because we have the time frame of that. And I think the board is aware that we just gotta get that bid resolution out and approved. And then they're gonna start that project in the summer. Neil has done the front area already. He did a nice job out there where he removed the signs and he vacuumed the carpets.
Looks a little cleaner out.
It really does. I mean, it actually looks 1,000 times better. Did you have an idea about those benches that you want to bring up?
I would like them removed. Between just the age of them, they are worn out. I think they've seen their day. I think it's time for them to go.
Are we talking about stone benches?
No, the stone stays, but the wooden benches that are around it,
Oh,
that are constantly being repaired and splinters.
painted and shellacked
Yes.
and, yes, yeah.
and have no benches? Or
Have the kids sit right on the stone edge,
some,
because it seems like limited students I've seen kind of hang out there, usually use the purple chairs around the edge.
okay.
But I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3 kids throughout a day sitting out there.
So you don't really need the bench.
So we don't really need the bench. I don't think, and I think it would open it up that much more with the new
Mhm.
wall being moved in closer and new doors.
And currently we do, so we have benches around that aren't being used, and then we have chairs around the
Right.
edge that are being used.
Yeah, so the benches do get used in the morning. Sometimes like the kids who are waiting for pickup or they're going to like our BOCES programs or VOTEC programs. They do weight, but they also weight the chairs.
Mhm.
You know, so there's options
Yeah.
that are out there. And again, you're not looking at 20 kids, you're looking at 5 kids, 4 kids. So they'll fit on those stone walls.
Oh, sure, yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty ample.
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
We can do that internally.
Yes.
Remove it and then strip the floor and fix the floor so you wouldn't have. to-
Wonderful.
There you
I
go.
think it will feel crowded if you don't and you move the
Right?
wall. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
I think it will just open it all up too, with the lights and then just that, and then we can get some plants in there.
Mhm.
It is, by the way, I ripped up that carpet a little bit. It's concrete.
We
bummer.
figured, yeah.
Yeah, it's all the way in. So they have to go on top unless you get a jackhammer.
Oh, Jesus.
So I think that's it for our projects. Right? Do we have any other projects that we're working on?
But just in process, I mean,
Yeah.
like.
Right, and then the summer project too is, when they're doing the dirt, but you were talking about topsoil.
Mhm.
Do you have to rent anything for that?
We're working on purchasing a top dresser, which will be basically every year. Top dressing, spreading infield mix on sports fields. Saves a lot of manpower compared to just throwing everything with a shovel.
And that can even out a lot of the issues that we have.
Yes. Cameras.
Oh. So we got, so. I'm gonna say that we're recorded, so, we've been working with a company. The company's had some staffing issues. And it's been difficult to get the quotes for the cameras that we budgeted for this year. We finally got a new quote today. So that's good. We're just going through a couple little issues with it and making sure that we can get it out, but that will take care of all of this whole building. So this whole building will get a complete upgrade. Really, there won't be blind spots. And we'll be able to take care of the majority of the areas. We are looking at putting it in the gym. But we will do it. So what happens is it will only be utilized from 3 o'clock on. So it's an instructional space. So you know, either you collectively negotiate that or we just don't have them running during instructional spaces. So anything that's an instructional space, just don't have it running during the school day. So not running, but then after school, you really want your gyms. I mean, those are public use areas.
Yeah.
Like you want a camera in the gym area.
Well, what about the camera that's already in the gym that does the,
That's
filming
not
of?
on during the school day.
No, but I'm saying, but it does exist in that space for like basketball games.
Yep. Yeah, these are internal cameras. So internal cameras that, you know, can be monitored through the school district. Anything that's in an instructional space would have to be negotiated.
Understood.
Yeah, but if it's not within an instructional space, you can have it in as part of your security control. So a gym is really considered an instructional space.
Yeah.
So that way we would just turn them off and have them not running between, you know, X time and X time. So that way at night, when we have our buildings being completely used and all the other issues and we have 1,000 people in the gymnasium, we have those cameras on for monitoring or God forbid an issue that occurs, we have that.
And go ahead.
You really can, go ahead. And just, you know, thinking about the gym space and when people are there, where will the cameras be positioned? And also like there is space like that's under the bleachers, you know, as the bleachers are pulled out.
Yeah, you don't get that camera. So a lot of times with any of these cameras, sometimes you're getting it where you can see people going in and out.
Mhm.
You're not ever always gonna see what they're doing. So that's sometimes even with the bathroom, right? You have a time stamp of when they go in, you have a time stamp when they go out. You don't actually know what's happening in those areas. Same with under the bleachers.
Okay.
But you wanna explain where those cameras will go?
So the 2 cameras, we have them scheduled to come on like where the home team sits, so they'd be facing towards the bleachers.
Okay.
So if something did happen in the bleachers, we'd have that recorded. So basically on both corners, overlooking the bleachers themselves.
And I will tell you, in the districts I've worked in, those are some of the most important cameras to have. Like,
I know that space is where, like, if you go to games, you see that the senior players often put their posters and things there.
Mhm.
Will they have to be careful about wires or anything?
No,
or
it's
will
all-
that-
No.
It's up probably way higher than that. Okay.
So we actually have wires running across that wall now
Mhm.
to go to those outside cameras that we have put in on the corner that overlooks the track in that area. So that's all protected by the conduit and everything else up there. So it's safe from all the balls that do bounce up there.
Oh, yeah. That too.
We just thinking about like confidentiality issues, like senior posters, they have their first and last names on, like, well,
So-
but it's only gonna be.
So
it's not
nice.
public.
It's
The
not public. Never
The
mind.
cameras will still all be on that same wall facing away from that information.
Yeah, but none of these are public.
That's true. So I got ahead of myself there. And of course, the coaches and sports teams would be notified of the change,
Yeah, we'll let everybody know that there's cameras in this place.
just so they know they're on when they're practicing or,
Good point.
you know.
I wonder if I got checked out with the attorney, actually.
Because of the coaches,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I'm gonna mark that down.
But they could certainly, if, depending on that, is a good question, but they could be turned on after that,
Right, they could,
at the worst case scenario.
right, we just do like, yeah, but it all depends on, I don't
I
know,
know.
that might be hard though. I gotta check on that, because the
Okay.
timeframes of it will change and fluctuate based on
Almost
the needs are.
scheduling events for the cameras.
Yeah. I've never had an issue with that in my previous districts.
And we're talking about not only our use, our coaches and teams use, but also our outside,
Yes.
like
I would think so.
CYO
Continuing ed.
Right.
basketball and
Yeah.
continuing ed and.
Right, and anyone who comes in with the district and rents, I think we should even put a thing, there should be understanding, we're under surveillance. Like, you know,
You could put signs.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we have a sign on the front?
We have signs in different spots throughout the district.
Should
We have
make
several
sure
at the
sign is
elementary
good.
school as well. We can always get more signs if
Yeah, especially in the new places.
Yeah, you could have them like outside of the gym, so when, like, continuing ed walks in, they see the
Right.
sign, like, okay,
Oh, yeah,
good to know.
Good to know.
no, I think it's good. So we're getting those done, I think, hopefully. And that means that this whole building now will have probably almost no blind spots.
Mhm.
We're taking care of a couple that are still outside that need to get done. And then the whole inside will have upgraded, cameras that work constantly, hopefully, and
all in one program.
all in one program. And
So
it can
they're two separate
record for more than 5 days at a time.
And what is the estimated completion of the project of putting the cameras in?
Summer, it'll be.
Yeah,
summer.
it will definitely be
Be a
over
very
summer,
busy
because there's gonna be a lot of wire that will need to be pulled. So.
Yeah, so, and it's perfect time with the LED, so the LED lights are gonna go in the high school, they'll be doing all that change, and then the cameras itself, and then the front. So high school's gonna be getting a lot of work done, elementary school, we'll get the site work, so it'll be busy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's good.
Yeah.
Busy's good. Okay, next. Why don't we do the easy one? Removal of the one long jump pit. Neil, you wanna talk about that?
Well, we were just talking about lacrosse before we started. We have the two long jump pits that are at the end of the football field there on either side. And they are dangerously close to play.
Ah.
So,
Mm.
and one of them does not get used at the moment for track events because that's right next to the finish line. So if you're doing a sprinting event or a hurdles or anything like that, their timing system interferes with everybody doing the jump. So that's all done on the far side. So I would like to pull out the one long jump pit that is on the softball side of the football field.
I would imagine that interferes probably with football as well, isn't it? It's-
There's
I mean, if
been,
it's-
Joe has
I
stated
have-
that there's been some possible accidents that could have occurred.
Yeah. Oh,
People
yeah.
being tackled out of bounds into it.
Yeah, that's,
So, it's- yeah, so I would like to have that one removed.
and that's something that you can do yourself, Neil?
Yes.
We just wanted to make sure we talked about it here, just if there's any concern.
I'm not familiar, but I guess if you ask around and everyone's like, yeah, I don't need it.
Yeah, on one side here, on one side here, in that way, it would at least makes it a little bit safer.
Yeah.
The field itself is, you want to explain, as you were explaining to me about the field?
So if we were to put in stadium lights around our football field, we could not have night soccer games out there because we could not get adequate width for a regulation soccer field.
And the field itself has some divots.
Really?
Yeah. And in order to do that, I asked Neil, I'm like, hey, can we just patch it with some of the topsoil? Do you want to explain what you told me about that?
We'd build it up slowly, so it doesn't just smother all the grass underneath it. So as we go this summer and we're aerating and top dressing from our new soil reserves we have over here, it'll be a process, but over the next couple of years, we can start to level out the field of most of it.
But the best way to do it would be what? If you were to do it, you would have to, you told me you could,
Skin it, redo it, re-level it, and then resod it.
that is like the appropriate way to like get it back to playing capacity.
And now,
Square one, yeah.
remind me, when the track was redone, that was only a
5 year.
patch,
It was a
right? That was a
5-year patch.
5-year, but we're already, what, 1 year in?
Yeah.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
not 1 year.
We're gonna have to start looking at a project for this area pretty soon.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about that after we get the.
Elementary approved,
We
yeah.
get the elementary approved, but you're right, like, this is a problem, and that track is starting to fail, like, the edges around the track, the drainage
Oh,
areas.
yeah.
are
The drainage
failing.
of the edge is gone.
What,
There was a safety issue that you and I saw that you had to fix.
what would, how do other schools, or what would be the difference then? If you're saying that that doesn't produce a regulation size field for soccer,
Mhm.
but it is regulation for football. And the track is now, the track only has a short leg left. What would we have to do to accommodate both soccer and football and have a track around the edge that meets track meet standards?
So, did you hear that sigh?
Oh,
A complete removal of the track and resizing everything so that we could have the space for regulation soccer.
And not put the two long jump pits in play.
And, that
So
would
we'd
have
have
to
to
be,
find a different location for
we'd
it.
have to look at the layout of all of our property
mhm,
and to understand exactly where we could put things. Because again, if you're expanding, how much are you expanding? How are you encroaching on the softball field? How are you encroaching on the soccer field? Is there a way that we could, maybe purchase property or look at expanding, so then you could figure out a different kind of layout where the track is here, well, maybe move the track, right?
Yeah.
Maybe move the track to another component and create that a soccer practice field or something different. But you're looking at a large scale project. Like, you're gonna have to rip a track out and put it back in. It's large scale no matter what.
and the 5 years that we have left on the track itself, I mean, and you're talking about drainage that's failing, isn't that a large scale project anyway? I mean,
Oh, you gotta remove the track. The track.
either way, we were talking about the track is going to have to be removed in
Correct.
4 years and
Mhm.
completely replaced because it is absolutely failing.
Right, or go to 6 or 7, like the length probably is, let's be honest, 6 years or 7
Squishy.
years. But,
Squishy, I like that. It's
yeah,
very
but it's
squishy.
gonna have to go.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to get completely removed and redone. And that's an opportunity for the district to say, all right, what do you do next?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
can
we've
never,
always talked about that being a potential next
Yeah.
capital project.
you can never fit a track around a field, because a track has to be a certain length,
No,
obviously.
you can, you just have
You
to.
can,
We just don't have enough.
you just,
I haven't scoped it out. You would know better.
so the best way to do it is you have your track going around and then there's nothing else inside of the track
Because we have
except the
other
playing
stuff
surface.
inside the track.
Yes.
Got ya.
So because of the two long jump pits and where they fall, you cannot get regulation length and width for a full-size soccer field. Like a full-size soccer field that we do over where we currently have it is 360 feet long, which is the same as football, but then it's 220 feet wide, which almost puts it on track and track. So
What's football with?
160 by 360. Counting the end zones. And so football is actually one of the most narrow fields we do. That's why it is able to fit within the footprint, and those are out of play, but still not outside of the realm of safety concerns. Like if a kid gets tackled out of bounds,
Yeah.
it's very possible for them to land in the pit itself.
Is that something that schools are moving towards, of removing these pits from the inside, because this is clearly,
So I've been in 2 districts that have done projects on fields.
Yeah.
No pits in the field.
well, it kind of, I mean,
know,
now that you're
yeah.
saying it, it makes sense that you
Mhm.
wouldn't want to have a
Yeah.
pit
Yeah.
next to the field.
So it's
Yeah,
usually,
you typically don't see that anymore.
so usually it's either behind the uprights where we have our high jump on one end or pole vault on one end, high jump on the other.
Mhm.
Usually they're off to the side somewhere surrounding the field, still in the same area, but not in the track.
And Rob, maybe you said this last time. Wasn't there something also about the track though, that like, didn't it not have enough lanes, or am I making this up? Am I just making this up?
I
Or,
haven't heard that.
okay, I thought there was something about like, more lanes. I don't know. Like that we only have like 6 lanes, but most have 8 or something.
I have no idea.
This could have been a dream. And
It's a smaller track.
Mhm.
But it is a smaller track. It is smaller. You definitely can go much larger or bigger. Again, I don't know if we have the space to do that. That would be the issue with doing a larger field. But it would be nice to have something where everybody can kind of play on it and use it.
yeah.
And site work, again, I think is an important thing to always mention is not hateable.
Up to the incidental limit, it's aidable, but anything beyond that is totally local share.
Jim, for those of us who don't speak it, what is the
So-
incidental?
Incidental. So
I like how you did it for us who don't speak that.
basically you have a number that the state gives you on any project. They say 80% of it is direct construction, 20% of it is incidental. Those are the allowables. So you have a $10 million project. If it's split 8 million inside, 2 million, you're fine. It's all covered. But if it's a $15 million project and it's 8 million inside, they'll still only cover that 2 million. So the 5 million goes to the taxpayers. Correct.
And that's kind of what happened with our transportation facility, because there's a lot of site work that goes along with the projects that we're doing.
So if we wanted to do $2 million worth of stuff out there, we gotta make sure we do $8 million worth of stuff inside.
Essentially, yes.
And that's.
gonna be more than $2 million.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Tracks are expensive.
Just the track, yeah.
Yeah, not even fixing the rest of the fields, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's an expensive project.
Oh, yeah.
So capital reserves and thinking about how we can then start funding more capital reserves for the next project is gonna be another conversation we're gonna have to look into, because we have to put money away.
Yeah.
All right.
But we'll get there, and then also, let's not forget, this building hasn't been touched in 4 years, right?
I thought there's that part.
So
Except
there's
for
a,
the new science rooms
right,
and
and
the
the
tech
tech room,
And the
right?
tech room, oh my
Right.
gosh.
So
and the LGI.
we've done things, it's true.
Mhm.
You know, but we also have, you know, it would be nice to get a new lighting system,
Mhm.
500,000.
And for the pack.
Yeah, for the pack. I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
system is seeing better days. So that's a large scale project as well. And then, we have asbestos everywhere. It'd be nice to get rid of that and start doing some abatement through time and start, future proofing the district a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that can get done.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's just,
Just on a small home there is.
yeah. So, all right.
All right.
Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right, so let's talk about the Spirit Rock. So the PTA has reached out, and shared an idea. Did anybody get a chance to read this?
No.
Okay. Has shared an idea about something called the Spirit Rock. Can you read this, or can you only?
Yeah. I mean, it's Very, but yeah.
Mhm.
Is that better? So it's kind of a on-site fundraiser, what they're looking at.
Oh.
I have not done
Oh.
any look into this.
Oh, parents can reserve the rock.
There's a picture of it, so you,
What do you do with the rock when you reserve it?
so you can paint it.
We used to have this in my school district.
You
Not a
did?
fundraiser,
I've never heard of this
but a
before.
spirit rock, basically that you would just paint before a game and like, it was a really kind of fun team bonding
Yep.
thing. And
The
then,
paint,
of course,
yeah.
other schools would come and try to deface your rock.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yep, yeah, they paint it in their school colors the
Mhm.
night before.
that's a rivalry thing. I like that.
Mm.
It
I've
was
never
fun.
heard of it. See, I've never
The
heard of
teams
it.
get into
Were you,
it,
was it
make
a New
camp.
York school, or is this?
Yeah, it was in Johnstown,
I've
Gloversville.
never heard of that.
In Arizona, they
Sounds
have
cool.
the big A up on the mountain. but then
Mhm.
Other schools will try to come and
Yeah,
change the color of the big A.
So they're saying they have
but I haven't heard the
guidelines.
fundraising part of it, so.
So-
Interesting twist.
Yeah, that's the thing. So they can rent the Spirit Rock and it goes on property. And there's a picture of it. She shared this. Why is my computer doing this today?
Some college tours we did too had a rock.
Yep.
I think it's a cool concept.
I think the concept is cool.
Seriously though, $10, that's it?
Yeah, it seems like a missed opportunity. I mean,
Rent the rock.
yeah,
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
people are gonna be there painting it every day
I
for
mean,
$10.
yeah, I'd
How do
like
you
it more
make
like-
sure people don't paint it then pay the $10?
Yeah, who's gonna police the rock?
That would be a
Yeah.
PTA thing.
Like, you know,
That would
Neil's
be
gonna
a
tent
good reason to
back
have
in.
outside cameras.
I think Neil has an issue with the rock in general. I can tell by the look on his face.
It's not always the prettiest sight to see.
Well, I think the question you have to ask is, A, is an onsite fundraiser for the PTA something the door you'd want to open up as
That's a
board,
different
right?
issue.
That's,
Yeah.
I think that's the issue is if you open up something like that once, where does it go next, right? I think these are some of the questions I
That's a
was
good
asking. I think it's nice. I think it's a great idea for the community. It's a great community bonding thing. My other thought process was equity issues, right? What if you have a kid who whose parents never do it or can't afford to do it, then how does that kid feel? And, you know, like, I think there's the other parts of it you wonder about.
Mhm.
I get this, it makes complete sense, and I
What
understand.
if
the
two
idea.
people want the rock for the same date for the same birthday? Like,
Is there a bidding war?
Again, all questions that are, viable, but is this something the board would want to talk about at a board meeting? Like, is it something you guys think is worth having a conversation, or you think?
I mean, if it touched the fundraising aspects and it probably a whole board meeting kind of a thing. I think the idea of a spirit rock is awesome. I don't know so much about the, it feels like a decorating before athletic events
was
with
fun,
maybe a contest for what goes on there. That sounds neat, all that.
Mhm.
But
Gilderland does.
Do that?
Don't they?
I don't know.
feel like
Maybe
I've
we should paint the
seen-
driveways. The seniors do that in some schools. right?
Oh, I have seen that. I've seen
Yeah,
the
your
parking
parking
spaces.
space.
Yeah, they paint
Yeah.
the parking
Oh,
spaces,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, at, was it Shallot? I was somewhere from his, something like that.
I'm sorry, I had to do
And
that.
yeah,
Yeah, the chalk.
all the parking spaces.
Sorry, I had to pick on them a little bit. It was funny.
I'm not sure how you would manage the fundraising part.
Yeah, it just seems like there's lots of issues with
Things we're not.
what goes
thinking.
there. Are these messages approved? Are they not approved? Who gets what when?
I
How
mean, we
much?
already offered PTA fundraising on school property anyway, so
Yeah.
it's already here. You know, now it's here.
Yeah.
That would be.
Well, at some point it becomes signage, and is that messaging then, part of the district's
Right,
messaging? And is it,
yeah.
somebody drives by and sees that rock and it's, is that an implicit or explicit endorsement of whatever is on the rock? I don't know.
Mhm.
But I love the idea of the rock. It's just how does what goes on the rock get on the rock? Something else to talk about.
Well, we have time,
Yeah.
because the other thing is that nothing's getting put on property until after we get our site work done.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's
Well,
just,
down there. but
Yeah, down
here,
there. I don't know if they would do it up here. That's,
They said both campuses.
oh, that'd be.
Yeah.
Although that changes the whole concept of high school kids a little bit. Because there's more criteria that would have to go in there. Because if I was a high school student, I'd buy it. And
Yeah.
have fun, or you never know what a high school kid would do.
It's fun, like for the prank day.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's where it was when I grew up. It was at our high school. It wasn't an elementary school type thing.
so what would you like to do next with this?
We can bring it up during the
Yeah.
facilities.
Yeah, bring it up
overview if you want.
for discussion. So it sounds like a good spot for discussion about it.
If that's okay
Yeah,
with
good idea.
everybody else.
Yeah,
That's okay, Barbara?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
see pros and cons of this,
Mhm.
as I
It's a
think you
fun
could.
idea.
It is fun, right? It's just,
I hate to always say no, but
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that, and it goes to policy because there have to be, policies around it. And, how far does
the
how far
fundraising.
does your decoration span? Like,
well,
Yeah.
then I think the question is the board guide that? Or does the PTA guide that with board approval or superintendent approval, right? Because do you as a board really want to start creating policy on what the PTA does?
Well, no, but do we have policy that governs like signage or something like signage?
Yeah,
on
I'm just
school
saying
property? I mean,
Right.
this.
Well, anything would have.
That's more
to be-
generic.
Everything would have to be approved by the superintendent,
Mhm.
right? So
So do you want to be doing that?
I'm fine with that, because
Every time someone wants to paint the rock?
no, but I'm okay with the protocols and procedures.
Oh,
And, then, like what we said is, then we would talk about that here, like, what about this? What about that? And then we could really understand those protocols and procedures and share with the PTA of what those expectations would be through facilities.
Mhm.
And then I would be the final person to say, okay, work on those protocols and procedures, and then they manage that. And they monitor it. And I would always say, even if you do this, there has to be a clause in there about, stopping it,
Mhm.
right? Because if it gets to be an issue, or if there's a problem, or you never know, like, you gotta have a clause that will be able to have the district remove it.
It feels like the kind of thing that we could do incrementally, though, if we really wanted to do it. We could get a rock, and then if you want people to use the rock for other, no.
I missed the part though, is that the PTA would like to purchase this rock or they would like us to purchase this
That was
rock
not
and then-
clear in the letter, I don't believe. I
Yeah.
think it was the idea of the rock.
Mhm. I mean, did they have a rock in mind? Is there a rock
Is there-
somewhere?
I'm sure we can find one.
Yeah.
To be very
Yeah,
honest
I mean,
with
there's
you.
lovely rocks around
Uh-huh.
like the sign out front. I don't think those are the. ones
No,
that-
but I'm being serious. We'll probably find a boulder.
We're gonna find, yeah.
We
Oh,
might
yeah.
find a nice one.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
also mentioned that a lot of schools have guidelines regarding what paint to use and drop
Yeah.
offs.
So I'm sure
Yeah.
they could help us do this.
Tee it up for conversation.
Right, cool. All right.
All right.
And
What's
could
next?
could you
Oh.
share that with that part with the full board?
Yeah,
So people can think about it
yeah,
before
I'll put it in my news
the
notes.
meeting? Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sometimes it's hard to think of everything on the fly.
Nope, I'll put that in my news and notes. When do you want me to put it in my news and notes? Do you want me to put it in like the week before the board meeting?
Oh, probably.
Yeah,
Right.
because otherwise we'll all forget
Yeah,
about
I
it.
try to schedule things like that for you.
That's
so
a good
like,
idea.
Right, so news and notes, Spirit, and that will be the
The 10th.
May 10th.
Yeah.
And you'll include all that stuff to give them context, because
I'm
I
gonna
was
just,
so
this link,
interested to know,
Yeah.
what are we gonna talk about when I saw Spirit Rock on the
Yeah.
agenda?
I'll put the link and
So, yes.
that will be there for everybody to have. All right, so memorials, from policy, so I have not had a chance to look at it. Did you look at Tim's policy?
No,
He found it
that was pretty extreme,
Yeah, and
but it gives you food for thought.
I've read a pretty in-depth policy on that
Mhm.
of memorials, and the different
Mm-hmm.
exceptions of it. And again, we've talked about this a little bit. It's the idea of somebody came to us and said, well, we want to do a tree, the
Right.
BTA said they want to do a tree for, a student who passed away and memorials. And there's a lot of guidance out there, like our social workers and guidance counselors, that a lot of people will say not to do trees
Mhm.
or living memorials like that, long-lasting memorials. Some
Mhm.
people will say to do it, districts do it, districts don't. I mean, it's all over the board. But again, you can do benches and scholarships. There's 1,000 different ways to do it.
Mhm.
But I asked Neil his thoughts on the tree, and I think he had a very interesting perspective on tree memorials. So do you want to explain what you thought of that?
I've seen them. We have one down at the elementary school right now that is past its lifespan and will need to come down, but in order to take it down, we still have to locate the family and get approval basically. And I know we've had other plaques around the district from old trees that are still in the stumps and growing up and around. So as far as tree memorials, I don't love the idea. I don't have any, I prefer something almost like a memorial bench type deal, something a little bit more permanent.
Do we have
Not
stumps
good.
that have memorials on it?
Mhm.
This came up once before during the playground. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
When we built the new playground, I don't know if some of those trees were memorial tree, but we ended up having to remove those trees, and this memorials came up in conversation at that time as well. I think, was that before you were here?
Yeah. it was
Yeah. So some you may have to remove them, or they may die, or it may.
Well, that was the other
Yeah.
thing Neil said is, you
Overall,
plant it.
overall upkeep on them.
Mhm.
And then if they aren't properly maintained in that first
Mhm.
few months, which are critical to the life of a tree, and they don't make it, it doesn't bode well for the deceased to begin with.
So if you were gonna do a long-lasting memorial, you were thinking something that's stable, like a bench or something like that.
Mhm.
Is there a way to, I don't know, like maybe be clear that while memorials are, it's a lovely gesture and it's important, that it is not forever. In that if you do plant a tree,
Mhm.
and I know that I'm saying things that are obvious to everybody, I mean, that tree might only live for a few decades. A bench might only last for 10 years, whatever,
Well,
but
let's say
is there
that garden memorial that was planted, right?
Mhm.
We accept that garden memorial, that becomes district property.
Mhm.
If the district in 5 years wants to completely renovate our backyard, that garden memorial goes,
Mhm.
right? Unfortunately. But we'd have to understand and say, hey, look, this is what's happening. It's going to leave. We'll put up, maybe something else or move a rock and say the rock is here,
The
but
rock with the plaque on it is
Yeah.
easier to
yeah,
relocate than a
because there's a rock
post
with plaque
tree.
on it, and say, all right, we'll put the rock there, but sometimes things are gonna happen where we don't have control of that in the district, right? You can't always control it.
People
That-
know a tree doesn't live forever.
Right,
I don't think anyone expects it will be in perpetuity.
right. And I would much rather do something like a tree or a bench or anything than name anything after it. Like, to me, that is like the worst thing you can do, because did I tell you the story that
Mhm.
I was at a district where they wanted to name something that was already named.
Oh,
And they
no.
named it
But
like
people forget.
Yeah, and people forgot, and boy, it caused a major issue. So, Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, those are just, yeah, naming is the worst in my mind.
What about maybe encouraging, I mean, the idea of a tree is lovely. Maybe somebody might someday go and read the plaque, but what about honoring, I mean, obviously we're talking about somebody who had something to do with the school, whether it's a former student or a faculty member or whatever. What about doing some sort of a scholarship? Because then, I mean, like, once you're honoring that person every year, that scholarship is awarded to a student. And I always enjoy every year hearing, that someone was awarded the scholarship and just the brief blurb about that person and why they are so important and why a scholarship was named for them. I mean, that just seems like such a beautiful memorial.
That requires constant funding though, unless you just want a
Does.
one and done.
Well, the scholarships can then die.
Right.
which-
Right. And I know
happens.
sometimes they're
Some are
outdated,
only
right?
1-year scholarships,
Yeah.
but I guess if someone's
I don't know.
trying to.
Mhm.
All that, not that this isn't good, that I think is getting more toward the policy side than the
Yeah, it
actual
is.
facilities
Mhm.
side.
And I don't have
True.
control of it. We can make recommendations of what that is, but right now, there's
Yeah.
nothing guiding what I
No.
can and can't do with Memorial, because we don't have a
Yeah.
policy that guides it, but I can say, hey, a scholarship would be great, I can have you set up a scholarship, but they can say, no, I really, really want to do a tree, or I really want to do this.
Or they don't
you
have
know.
enough money for a
Exactly.
full scholarship.
Well-
You could buy a tree for.
Yeah.
20.
And
Right,
scholarships
exactly.
too,
A scholarship, it's,
Yeah.
to make it meaningful,
Yeah,
it's gotta be $50 or more,
Yes,
right?
please.
Right.
I've seen kids get a $5 scholarship and they're like, it doesn't even do justice to
Yeah.
the name.
No, certainly. I mean, and I wasn't trying to say.
No,
that
no,
it
I-
should be something tiny, but.
But I do like how you're trying to figure out how not to make it physical.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or at least just with the acknowledgement of a bench this is a 20-year
Limited
memorial
lifespan, yeah.
at best.
Which can come to the policy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is on our agenda, just so you guys
Yeah.
know, for next
Yeah.
meeting. We ran out of time this past month.
And is it going forward that these things do become property of the school? And then
They
once
have
they are our property, it
Oh,
is.
Anything on
Has to.
property is.
That's what we've been doing, but I don't
Yeah.
think there's policy, is there?
No, not with donations of trees, right? We've never, do you accept the donation of a tree?
I've never seen it
Uh-huh.
on the agenda, but
I don't think we've done, we did the garden, we've
Mhm.
accepted the garden was ours, so the garden was ours.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I don't,
we
I don't
kind of
think
talked
it-
about that at policy too, that we need to, we
Hmm.
kind of have practice in some things, but not. other
yeah, not
areas.
in that, I don't think we've had people donate like a bush or a tree, right,
Mhm.
for us to even do
Not
that.
that I've seen.
You definitely, I remember a tree being donated, like when Cindy died.
So that was before.
Oh, yes, that was before you.
I was there at the planting of that, actually.
Mhm.
I think there was 2 of them, wasn't there? One died.
I think one died right away and
Yeah.
then planted another one.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Did the district pay for that? I wonder.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I
That'd
was
be an
not,
interesting
you know,
thought
I was
process
just
to
a
look into. Seeing.
public member.
We had one that was donated in honor of a community member. And I'm wondering if, when it passed, when that tree passed, did we pay for that as a district or not? Like, this,
I don't know.
it's an interesting thought. I think that might be a stump now, by the way,
Oh,
or one of the ones that might have to be removed. Oh, yeah, look at that too. Okay,
that's a policy, I guess.
yeah, back to policy.
Everything
not-
goes back to
but-
policy.
But you're okay with looking into it?
Absolutely.
Is there any guidelines that facilities thinks we should put into place on that? So like, making sure people understand they're not forever, but
Mhm.
any other
That
guidelines
would be the
that
number
policy
one
should
thing.
think about?
Yeah.
I would also like to maybe just address, because I think that this is probably the source of contention of if there is the thing that memorializes it, the plaque, whatever, what happens to the plaque at that time? Is there a way that it can be returned to the family,
Mhm.
or does it get put somewhere on a big wall with all other?
Yeah, is there
Yeah.
some sort of policy on rededication
Right.
if things are, like what do you?
Not that we as a school district are obligated to plant
Mhm.
another tree or put
Mhm.
another stone or whatever, but
But
that.
what do we do with it after,
Yeah. Right.
if it meets its end, right? Like
Mhm.
whenever anything changes or we have to add on to the buildings, if we look, right? Yeah, what do we do with that? I think that's great.
I mean, that'd
Yeah,
be
that
really
sounds a
nice
nice idea.
to know that ahead of time and not be surprised later.
Yeah. And let the district just know what to do and not have to guess every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have it written,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, policy.
Because we're not writing a policy just for now, we're writing a policy for 20 years from
Right.
now, because 2003 were some of those were written, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, that's good stuff. Anything for the good of the order?
That was it. That was our agenda.
Wow, yeah.
It was so fun. Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Excited to spring.
Yes.
I
All
know.
right.
Yeah.
You good? I'm gonna stop recording.
All set. Thank you, everyone.